What's up, everybody? My name is Salua. Welcome on this channel. And in today's topic, I am super excited to introduce you to my friend Yvonne, and we are going to be talking about how you can get your residency here in Mexico. I have a special guest. She's been working with expats for over 15 years. She's worked with hundreds of people, and she even is helping me now getting my own residency here in Mexico because I love it so much. Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Salua. Thank you so much for the invitation. So, my name is Yvonne Pavan. I'm the co-founder and general manager of Host Relocation. So, what do you want to know?
Well,
Just
what
ask
I
me.
want to know and what other people want to know is what is the process to get started with your Mexican residency? So let's say you come to Mexico as a tourist, you love it, and you want to move here. So what is the process, basically?
The first step is you need to get an appointment in the Mexican consulate back in your home country or your last country of residence. You cannot start here, Salua. There's a lot of misinformation about it, that you as a tourist can get the resident card. That is misinformation.
So they need to go back to the country of residence
Or
what
the
if-
last
home country.
yes.
So what if they have two residency, like me, for
The
example?
last country you lived in. Why? Because they ask you for your economic solvency. So they will ask your bank account statements. So if you are from Europe, but you've been living the last 10 years in US and your bank account is in the US
Yeah.
and it's in US dollars and you are legally living there and working there, you need to go to the US.
Got
So the first step is making an appointment in the Mexican consulate, and then you need to prove your economic solvency. The requirements are listed in every consulate because it's different from consulate to consulate and from country to country. So
Okay.
you need to go to the website.
But okay, so let's say I live in Arizona. This is my resident state. Can I just go to Arizona's consulate, Mexican consulate? So do I
You
have
can
to
go
go
to Arizona or you can go to somewhere else. As an American citizen, you can go to any Mexican consulate in the US. As a European, you need to go to your country. But in the US or even Canada, you can go to any consulate in that country.
Right. And you said that the requirements was different from embassy to embassy for
Consulate to consulate.
in the US. Is it true?
Yes, it is. So you need to check the requirements in every website. And also, if your requirements or your economic solvency is very tight, so you need to look for the one that approach the most to your economic solvency. So that is a good tip, in fact.
Yeah. So you need to be able to make a living to come here in Mexico. So make sure you keep that in mind. And so different consulates will have different requirements and different economic requirements, right?
Economic requirements, yes.
Right. Do you know which one requires the lowest income or no?
Well, there are several. Like talking about the U.S., it can be Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, Tucson as well. But in general, they change the posting every now and then. So you need to check up continuously the website so you can know exactly the requirements. And in fact, and also another tip is just to contact them directly by email and just a low percentage by phone, mostly by email. They need to reply to you and they will reply with their requirements, the updated requirements. In Mexico, unfortunately, the websites are not updated all the time. So even though there's something listed, you need to ask what is the requirement right now so you can be sure that you can fulfill all the requirements there.
Right. Okay, so for example, myself, based on the advice of Yvonne, because I actually hired her to work with me on the process, she gave me a list of consulates to contact in the US. And the first one that answered me was the one from Tucson, Arizona. And the requirement was at this time $3,000 a month. So I have to prove that as a, what do you call it, economic solvency?
Yes, you need to basically show your the last 12 months of bank account statements. And even though as a freelancer like you make some month you can make more, some months you can make less, they will make an average after the 12 months. So they need to see consistency. That's why they ask for 12 months.
Right. Okay, so the beauty of entrepreneurs like us or online entrepreneurs, freelancers who don't have A consistent income every month is that they're looking at the full balance. So if they say, for example, $3,000 a month, they want to see the total for the last 12 months. And so if you have a month where you made less and months you made more, you still can be eligible.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the next? So they want to see your
And
income.
also there's difference. There are two types of residency, which is the temporary and the permanent. The temporary, it's normally like we were talking about, economic solvency between 2,500, 3,000 US dollars a month, depending on the consulate. It can be less, it can be more. It depends. The second option is the permanent visa. That is considered the retirement visa. So you need to be older than 60 years old to be able to apply or to be eligible. And of course, you need to have a little bit more of economic solvency because you will be considered as a retiree here in Mexico.
Right.
So you need more money to prove that you're not going to work here. And also, it's important to mention they don't want people to steal jobs from Mexicans. That's why you need to prove certain economic solvency to be able to live here comfortable and peacefully without taking Mexican jobs.
Yeah, just like the way around we do in the US. We don't want foreigners to take American jobs. They want the same. So that's totally fair.
I have had younger clients having the permanent residency, but the other requirement is to be retired. So if you have a pension or a social security letter saying that you are retired, you may be eligible, but that's under consideration from the consular agent at the moment.
Right.
So let's say you're 55 years old, but you are retired, you have your social security, you're not working anymore, and of course you have the economic solvency that they request as permanent, you can be eligible. But as I said, needs to be under consideration because of your age.
Okay. So quick recap. First step, you apply for the temporary residency. That's the first step. From there, how long is it? 3 or 4 years?
4 years. You need to be legally in Mexico for 4 years, meaning the first temporary resident card will be for 1 year. The next one, you can renew it for 1, 2, or 3 years. I always suggest my clients to do it 3 years in a row. After the 4 year, you can apply for permanent residency.
Right.
You don't need to go back to the consulate. You can do it here in Mexico in any INM office.
And it's easier? Is it easier to get from temporary to permanent?
It is just by law. You can apply right away for permanent residency. The only requirement is the 4 years. You don't need to prove economic solvency anymore.
You just have to prove that you've lived here for 4 years.
That you are a temporary resident holder for 4 years. Right now, Mexico doesn't require to live certain amount of time to have your temporary or even permanent residency. As I said, right now, things and rules in INM are changing every day. It's not even every January. It's every day the rules are changing, as you know. So
that means I can leave outside of the country for the whole time and still be...
And you can come here, renew it for 3 years. You can be abroad, whatever you're doing, and then come back and apply for the permanent. And yeah, you can, that's
pretty cool.
Yes, so far.
Okay, so quick recap. First is your temporary residency, just as we mentioned. And then after that, you can apply for the permanent residency, which we'll talk in a second. The other option is if you are over 60 years old, you can apply directly for the permanent residency. And for that, you have to prove that you're over 60 years old, that you have the economic solvency.
And that you are not working anymore, that you are really a retiree.
That you are a retiree, and that's how you can get them. Okay,
exactly.
So let's go to the second phase. Once you have the temporary, you've had it for 4 years, now you are eligible to get
the permanent residency.
You said no interview.
No. Well, you need to go, we do another paperwork, but you need to do it here in Mexico. You don't need to go back to the consulate. You do it here in Mexico. We help you with all the paperwork. And yeah, right away, you apply for the permanent and you will be granted.
And how long does it take to get it?
Just the same day of your appointment, they will give you your card normally.
All right, so let's go back to the documents required. So when you do the temporary, you need the economic solvency. We said it changes from consulate to consulate. And then what else do they need?
Your passport, of course. They need passport photos, your visa application, and you need to be prepared that if you're actually planning on moving to Mexico, you need to know where are you going to live? What are you going to do for a living? Like if you are a freelance, well, it's pretty obvious. But if you're working in a company, are you going to work abroad? Are you allowed to work in Mexico from your company? Are you going to open a company? So they're going to ask, what are you do for a living? They're going to ask you if you're moving alone, if you're moving with your family. So you need to be prepared. Normally, if you are searching for moving abroad, you already have the answers in
To
your
all that,
head.
right.
Yes.
And so you help people through the whole process, right?
Yes, I'm guiding you. We, as a third party, we cannot help you get the appointment on the consulates, but we guide you in all the process until you get your Mexican visa attached in your passport.
That's good.
After that, in the Mexican side, we help you with everything. We do all the paperwork. I am in Mexico. Every state is different, so we can explain you. We cannot go inside INM with you because that's the INM policy. Nobody can go unless you are the applicant. So we will give you a pretty good coach on how to do it, and you will be ready. And the same day of your appointment, you will have your card if all the elements are 100% there.
So let's say if I have all the documents ready for my temporary residency, the day of my interview, I can get out of there with my residency.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't have to wait.
No, they will take you the photos there. You put fingerprints, everything, sign, and you will get out of with your card.
Pretty good. Mexico is pretty good. What's INM? Can you define it?
INM, Instituto Nacional de Migración. So those are the letters, and it's nationwide known as INM.
Okay.
But thank you for asking. It's a good
some
question.
people might not know. All right. So one more thing. What is the benefit of being a temporary resident here?
Basically, if you're going to live here, you will need to have, as I said, there have been a lot of changes in immigration policies lately.
Yeah.
Immigration doesn't want people to live here just as tourists.
Yeah.
So if you're planning to live here more than 6 months or even 3 months, you need to get your temporary. Besides, the Mexican government has created all these processes based on the temporary residency. You cannot get a driver license. You cannot get a Mexican bank account. You cannot get too many things to live here if you don't have your resident card. And talking about specifically in Querétaro, you cannot even rent a house long term if you're not resident.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's very interesting because it has been changing lately.
So if somebody is interested in working with you, we are actually going to put her information down in the description.
Thank you very much.
Yes, make sure to contact Yvonne. She's the one here in Querétaro and in whole Mexico, right? You help every...
Yeah, we have offices in Mexico City, here in Querétaro, San Miguel de Allende, La Paz, Los Cabos, Jalisco, and opening more.
Yeah, but you do Zoom anyway.
Yes, I do Zoom for the consultation so I can help you with everything and even the paperwork.
We're going to leave her information down below. If you have any questions about this video, please leave it down below. Is there any last word you want to share?
If you have a dream, just need to follow your dream, you know? It's never too late. I have had so many customers over 60 years old that has always that idea on their mind and they said, you know, it's never too late to do it. Just follow your dreams.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank
it was
you.
a pleasure to meet you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Do not forget to like, share this video with somebody who might be interested in moving here to Mexico. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week on my next video. Bye-bye from Querétaro.